Welcome to Hurts So Good. I'm your host, Orsi Sobo. And on this podcast, we're going to be exploring with ultra athletes, endurance athletes, what it takes, not just physically, but more importantly, mentally, to do these long adventure races. I'm endlessly fascinated by the mind and what it takes because it does hurt. Like what ultra athletes put themselves through is physically demanding and painful, but there has to be something on the other side that makes it all worth it. So let's explore what makes it hurt so good. Welcome, everybody. Today we're joined by Viktoria Brown, a Canadian record holder in the 48-hour, 72-hour, and 6 days. And she was the first Canadian woman to run 100 miles under 15 hours. Welcome, Viktoria.
Thank you.
That's crazy. I mean, you are so talented at the multi-day things. It's unbelievable. I know you recently just did the, the coffee party, 48 hours. How was that experience for you?
Oh, it was so much fun. It was very different because, there is a normal flow to these events, and they are all very, very similar when you're competing against world-class competitors. But this was different because basically the whole event came about to promote this drink. It's actually called the coffee party. It's a cold brew. And so these guys, the owners and promoters, marketers, everybody got together and thought, well, what is a very, very hard thing to do? Oh yeah, we should be running for 48 hours. And so it was in Toronto. It was like less than an hour from my house, so I couldn't pass up on it. And that was a grand prize. They offered $5,000, but only for the winner. So there was no women's prize. There was nothing. Just the overall winner will take home $5,000. But I mean, 48 hours is kind of my thing, right?
No, I know. I remember DMing you and I was like, show them how it's done. Like there was no part of me that thought anyone could beat you, even though I know you were coming off the backyard. But you're like, the Canadian record holder. I was like, you'll be just fine.
Yeah. I mean, I have the overall record, right? That is higher than the man's record in the 48-hour. So basically, that's my strongest. And even though I was going into the backyard, I was very undertrained. My winter didn't go as planned. And then now I'm undertrained and I'm coming off of another 47-hour effort. But I was the only short loop specialist. So the way we call it is these are we were running a 1 kilometer loop, and you do as many as you can in 48 hours. So these are the short looped timed races are a very, very niche specialty, even within ultra running. So somebody who can run a really fast 200 miler or 250 miler, like let's take Rachel Entrekin. I'm a huge fan of hers. She's insane. She's incredible. She's the next big superstar in trail running. Her 48-hour on a looped course is way weaker than mine. And that's just because, to put up what I put up, you have to concentrate on it. I think, she went out with no crew. She went out just to run and not, set world records. So again, it's a very niche specialty and very few people dedicate themselves to it, mostly because running a 200 miler in the woods is much more fun.
Obviously, yeah.
Right? It's funny that they came up with something that was actually the exact thing that I do. And so there were a few guys who showed up who were very fast guys. They were running 4-minute kilometers at the beginning. So I think they did the first 50K in I don't want to lie, but 3 hours and something. And one of them is on the Canadian 50K team. But again, running for 50K, and also 50K is usually point to point, is very, very different from running through 2 full nights. Because people don't realize in a 48-hour, it's the second night that's going to get you. I ran through the second night the full night because I was a bit worried that somebody would come out on day 3. Like we started at 7 p.m. So even the last day, once the sun came up on the third day, which was not technically the third day, but we considered it the third day, there were 14 hours left of the day before it was over. So one of the young guns did come out and put up 100 kilometers in the last 14 hours. So that's why I just all night, the second night, I just kept building the lead, building the lead, building the lead. I did mess around. I did take it easy. I did nap. I took 3 45-minute naps just because I saw that there was nobody else out there. I'm like, I'm the only one out here. So I'm building a big lead anyway. I can afford to nap for 45 minutes. And then a few hours later, I can afford to nap another 45 and then another 45. So yeah, I did nap way more than I normally would have. But again, I could afford it and I won by, I think it was, I had 307 laps. He had 260. So that's 47 lap difference. So, and it was approximately a 1 kilometer loop. It wasn't exactly, but yeah. So, I mean, if I won by 47 laps, I could afford to sleep a little bit here and there.
Was it nice to receive some prize money? Because I think in the multi-day sport, there isn't a ton of like prize money, right? Like
no. So I've gotten prize money before, but I believe this might have been the biggest one.
Nice.
I mean, if I had bonuses in my professional contracts where, if I did this or did that, I would have gotten much more, but I never did it. So I think this was the one with the biggest single payout of just one race. So that was really nice. And I do think that so for these brands to get the exposure that they want to get and to get the hype, like there was the Go One More Ultra was just, I think it was a week before or 2 weeks before our race, which is a similar, it came about in a very similar way. They are promoting a product, which is the BPN supplements. And, they decided, okay, what's a very hard thing to do? And they put up a backyard ultra, which became a big thing. And I think what I really love about these events, because some hardcore ultra runners will say, oh, there was no competition, there was no field, but again, we are showing the everyday people that what we actually can do is world class for a reason, right? I put up my worst ever 48-hour result with the 300 kilometers that I ran, yet I beat second place by 47 laps. And I'm 50.
I mean, that was really cool.
23. And I was running in flip-flops, right? So
I saw that.
So again, with this, it's the same with the backyard ultra that, people want to do hard things and they can challenge themselves at their own level. You can run your first ever marathon, your first ever 50K, your first ever 100K, and be very proud of yourself. And then Harvey Lewis comes about and runs over 100 laps because that's what he does. I think it's great that we are introducing these events, these kind of challenges to a much, much bigger audience. Like people, it was the first time some people realized, oh, there is such a thing as a 48-hour run, or there is such a thing as a backyard ultra. I love it that, these people who didn't even know these things existed are now starting to get obsessed with it and maybe train for it and maybe want to do one and maybe, challenge themselves and do the best they can and all. I love it. I love the whole concept. And I also loved it that, all those guys there, they were so fun. Honestly, like they are very strong. Well, for one thing, they are very nice to look at, right? Because they have all the muscles that the ultra runners don't. Like I don't have much muscles. I'm trying to be lean, which is not happening lately because we just came off of the winter. But I don't have big muscles and never will because that's not my interest. I find the gym boring. I do the bare minimum I need to. But, these guys spend their lives in the gym and look great. So, you're running around and there is some eye candy, which is very nice. But also it's the energy, the energy that they brought. I've never seen it in another ultra ever, because it was all hype, all musical, oh, how fun it is. And I mean, running for 48 hours is not necessarily fun the second night.
I was looking at sort of like your resume, and I feel like there is the human phase, which is like 2015 to 2020. And then there's like the superhuman phase. Like, I feel like there's this shift. But I think for people who are just like getting into it, it'd be really cool to hear about sort of the 2015 to 2020, where I saw like back in 2015, you ran your first 10K at like an hour 18. Like,
Yep.
you were just a bare human starting out after 3 kids, wanting to lose some weight. Like, how were the beginning years and how did that sort of progress?
So back then, when I had my third child in 2014, I started jogging 3 times a week, 30 minutes at a time. That's how it was started. And again, yes, I just wanted to lose the weight, and I had 3 little kids, so I didn't really have a ton of time, right? So that's why it was 3 times a week. So the end goal was always to finish an Ironman. And I knew that from the couch, that would take me years, probably. So it did take me about 2.5 years. The next step was that I wanted to do a half marathon. So as soon as I finished the 10K, that was in May. Okay, September, half marathon. So then I looked up a free training plan, and it said I need to run 4 times a week as a bare minimum. Okay, I can do that. I'm already running 3 times a week. I can run 4 times a week. So that's what happened. So then I followed that training plan. September, I did my half marathon. And then the following year, so it never excited me to just get faster and faster at that given distance. I just always wanted to do the next distance because I needed the marathon for the Ironman. So then in 2016, May, I did the marathon. So we are going from May 10K to September half marathon to May marathon now.
Nice.
So I've got the marathon. It was 4 hours and 57 minutes.
I
The
love
goal was
that
under
though.
5 hours, right? And then, so interestingly, I did get faster in the marathon because I started to lose the baby weight, right? And so, like,
Yeah, you
the
lost like
May,
50 pounds or something, it said in
yeah,
an article. Yeah.
yeah, it was about 50 pounds. So the May 457 became under 4 hours by September, I think. And then I know the best official marathon time was 3:32 eventually.
Yeah.
I was in better shape at one point, but then I didn't run a pure marathon because I was into Ironman by then. And so after I did the marathon, I did my first sprint try, and then the Olympic try, and then I think it was 2017 that I did. No, still 2016, I did my first half Ironman, 70.3.
Yeah.
And then 2017, I finished the Ironman in September.
Do you remember your
Yes.
time?
Sorry?
Do you remember your first Ironman time?
Yeah, it was 13 hours and 17 minutes.
So again, still very human, very
Yes.
comfortable times. Because here
And the
we're
training
talking
too.
numbers that I can do too, right? Like,
Yeah. So the training was very human as well, because what I did for that is that I did train for the run properly, but then I went out once a week or less on my bike.
oh,
And I swam 3, 4, 5 times total for the whole. I just wanted to know I can do the distance, right? So in the swimming, I don't like swimming. So in the swimming, as soon as I realized, okay, I can do the distance, I just didn't even go swimming anymore. So that's how, and I swam 145 in that first one. And I think I biked 620-ish. And then I ran 420-ish. Something like that.
yeah.
So that was very good. But I did realize right then and there, that was the first little sign when I realized that given how much, or how little rather, training I did, compared to my age group, the other women in that age group, I was best at that longest distance. So I was dead mid-pack. I think it was like 19th out of 40 in that Ironman, while previously in my other stuff, I was back of the pack. So that's when it just occurred to me that, yeah, I guess if I was gonna do something, then I might as well do the one where I show the most potential.
Yeah. And there is something really crazy about when you go long. Like I've
Yeah.
compared your and my times, our 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, completely the same. Then at 50K, you're like 4:18, I'm 5:20. There's like an hour gap. But when you go to like 100 miles, you're like 15 hours and I'm like just under 24. So there's like a 9-hour gap. So we go from seconds difference in like the shorter stuff to then like an hour at 50K to 9 hours at 100 miles. So I'm wondering what happens to you mentally, because I'm sure it has to be a mental thing that allows you to go at that pace for so long. Like there has to be something that drives you.
Y- I look at it a bit differently. And yes, so it's always fun to look at Strava and see where I take over somebody, right? Because
Like
like, oh,
huge difference. I mean, the gap
they're
is.
ahead in the 5K, they're ahead in the 10K, they're ahead in the half marathon, they're ahead in the marathon, and they're around the 50K. It gets closer, and the 100K, it gets even closer. So I don't think it's that I can define it in a different way. I think I lack at the top end, and I always have. So what it is that I just don't have that top range at all in anything. Even in my biking, in triathlon, my strongest was always the bike, and I could bike really, really well. And I never had the top end power. And I could train that top end power and just improve a little bit. And that brings up everything else. So it's important, but I just don't react. While if I train the threshold, or if I train the middle ranges, my body and my muscles and everything just reacts like through the roof. You know what I mean? And
I totally get it.
I could never run a 20-minute 5K. I just can't. I don't have that in me. My 1 minute sprint is a 4-minute pace. So like, I'm not gonna run it for 20 minutes. But I could run a 3:26 marathon when it was a split in another race. So the slowdown is much less because of that. There were times that my open half marathon and my Ironman half marathon, there was a 2-minute difference. That's it.
Yeah, I get
My
that.
best half marathon was 1:38, and I ran 1:40 or something around 1:40 in a half Ironman.
I understand, but I'm
Same with the marathon. Like my best official marathon time is 3:32. I did run 3:26 once, but I ran twice 3:37 in Ironman after swimming and biking. So the I just don't have that faster one.
I
And
get it, but I'm so curious because for me, the slowdown happens mentally. Like to me, there's a threshold of like pain that I wonder if it's like different for you or if you enjoy it or what it is, because there is, like to do these paces for like sometimes for you for days at a time, like it's like there's something mental that you're able to override, I guess is what I'm trying to get to. Like,
yes,
what
and
is it mentally?
yes, and what I looked into it as well, like I read about it, and what it is apparently we feel it the same way and we experience it the same way, but we can just shut it out.
Okay.
Like I go into problem solve. I know I should be able to do it. For some reason, my body is telling me, oh, I don't want to do it. What is it that causes that dissonance, and how can I solve it? Is it that I'm lacking food? Is it that I'm lacking motivation? Is it that I'm lacking some sort of other nutrients? Is it that, I'm chafing, so I need to solve that? So what is it that makes me not put up the pace that I know I could and I should, and just solve the problem and not worry about the rest of it. If you solve the problem, the obstacle will go away.
I'm not sure it's that simple. So in 2020, you discover that you're a really great ultra runner, right? That's when you were the first woman to run under 15 hours, right?
I think I ran that in 21, but in
Okay.
2020 I ran my first ultra.
What was
So
that experience like? Because
that was
you,
a 24-hour run. And so 2020 was the year when I discovered a lot of things. And so when I first finished my first Ironman, I didn't run it on an Ironman for another 3 years. Behind that was because the reaction that I got from my soon-to-be ex-husband was was that I hope now you're done and you're not going to continue. So that was his reaction to me finishing my first Ironman. And so I did not for 3 years. So the next Ironman I ran, so I did shorter distances. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to keep moving. I thought, okay, well, if I do the half Ironman, and that's a very, very manageable training load because your longest run is 2 hours. You're never biking more than 3 hours. And that's your highest load. So that's a very manageable training load for anybody in their lives. I was still not swimming, really. And so I started to concentrate on that and get faster in that and then improve that time. And then when I went to the World Triathlon Long Distance World Championship for the first time, that's a distance between a half Ironman and a full. So I kind of started to inch it up a bit, kind of maybe nobody will notice that I'm. And then by 2020, I was ready for another Ironman, and I was close to the point where I just, I just wouldn't care, whatever. Like, you can't
yeah.
hold me back because it's inconvenient for you or because it makes you look bad that I do all this stuff. I went to the Hungarian long course national championship.
Yeah. And you won.
And I won the overall female with a time that I never thought, like in my wildest dreams. I did 10:32.
Wow.
From coming off of 13:17. So that was my second Ironman distance. And it was a shock to me, to everybody, to the audience there. Who is this woman? And I was 45 already. And and that was like, I was over the moon. I was so happy. And my 3 children ran the finish shoot with me. And it was just one of the happiest moments. And then a month later, coming off of that Ironman training, I did my first ultra. And that was a 24-hour looped race. And I had no idea what I was doing, kind of like my first Ironman. And immediately I broke the course record. I won the race overall, beating even the men. And I became #1 selection for the Canadian 24-hour World Championship team, which I didn't even know existed. So that was the moment. That was the breakthrough, basically, where I realized, oh, wait a minute.
Do you remember how far you ran?
It was 213 kilometers in 24 hours on a course that was not that easy. It had a hill. So it was a 2.25 kilometer loop in London, Ontario. It was called the Dam Hill. It had a dam and it had a hill. And so we ran up it wasn't like a hill. It was a tiny little, but by hour, 23, it does feel like a hill. So that was the breakthrough performance.
When you went into that race, did you have any expectations of winning, or did you have a distance in mind? Like, what was the mindset going into that race?
So I did want to win the women's race. I never thought about the overall. And I usually, even up until today, like, unless there is only one prize, like in the coffee run, where overall takes it all, I don't really worry that much about the men usually. Or unless we are in a backyard where you have to, because there's no separate women's prize. So I wanted to win the women's race, but I had never run more than a marathon beforehand, right? So I had no idea what it's like. I had never run through the night. I didn't know anything about anything. But I still thought, well, I can't see how I couldn't run 200 kilometers or more. So that was kind of just paper math, right? It looks easy when it's in front of you and you put the numbers together. I'm like, I can't see how I couldn't do 200 in 24 hours.
Do you think anyone could run 200 in 24 hours? Like if they're a 3:30 marathoner like you?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But you really need to want it, and you really need to be able to problem solve or just override the pain. So like, I didn't know as much as I do now about chafing. And so the pain was just awful. But you just have to kind of, what's the word, compartmentalize and just not like, okay, that pain is there. We'll deal with it when we're done.
Yeah, the reason why I was asking was like I was being kind of cheeky because like that's kind of the level I'm at, and I'm running my first 24-hour race in September. We can talk about that separately some other time, but like what's possible, you know? Like I've never run more than I've run 100 miles in 24 hours. I've never run more than that, so it's like it's a new adventure, and I don't know
But
what
it's
running in like it's on a track, so running 400-meter loops, what that does
the
to your
survival
mind.
quest.
No, it's the one in Duncan. It's in BC.
Oh,
It's
okay.
on the
So
island.
that's where I, like 2 months later, 2 months after the first 24 hour, I broke the 48-hour Canadian record there.
Got
Yeah,
it.
it was raining the whole time too. So yeah, that's a good race. What you need to be mindful of that because it's on the track, the movement is exactly the same. So what you need to do is do a few of your long runs, like 3, 4, 5, 6 hour. I don't know what your longest ones are, but do them on the track.
Makes
Because you
sense.
need to condition that ankle. It's your anterior tibialis. Otherwise, it's gonna give out because it's exactly the same height, exactly the same step, every single step. So yeah, and the secret is just don't mess around. Just keep going. Like there is no I'm now tired. I'm sitting down for 5. No, it's 24 hours. It's a 24-hour running race. It's not a 24-hour walking race. You just keep going and then you can get to the 200.
Like, what kind of games do you play in your head to get yourself to keep going when everything in your body just says stop? Because I'm going to hit that point where I'm going to want to stop. I know myself. I will.
So there are a lot of things. Caffeine is your best friend. Know your max caffeine intake. That will not overdose you. And the way I do it is just I take a 12-hour window. So it's a rolling 12-hour. And then we know the maximum and I can max it out. I rarely do in 24 hours. In 48, I always do. And then, so that's one. Caffeine is your best friend. My second best friend is ketones. It's not for everybody. It tastes awful, but it does feed the brain. So when the motivation is low, I take my ketonade. There are a bunch of different brands. I will warn you not to buy the cheapest brand because it doesn't have what you need. But any of the good brands, right, there are only 2. But I swear by ketonade, and I take my ketones and then I keep flying because it feeds the brain. So I don't even hallucinate anymore because my brain is clear. I kind of miss the hallucinations, but whatever.
I was going to say, I've never gotten to
You-
hallucinate.
Just skipped over that so casually. That feels like a big deal. You hallucinate while you're running? Is that normal?
Yeah, I used to a lot. Yeah, and it was fun. And I little like them. But the thing is, like with the ketones, it keeps your brain clear. So I don't anymore. But it's okay because I get the results I want, right?
At what point do you start hallucinating? Have you ever hallucinated in a 24-hour or is it more like a 48, 72?
Yeah, I know.
Like
No,
at what
maybe
point?
not the 24. Yeah, the second night or thereabouts. Second day, second night. So like there in Duncan, when I was running the 48-hour in the rain, like there was a giant unicorn I saw. There was a giant broccoli. Yeah, there were a lot of things. And the fun thing is like when you keep going around at the exact same point on the course, you're seeing the exact same thing unless you don't look. So like I knew the unicorn was over there and the broccoli was over there, but they were like huge. They were like massive, like a house that big. Yeah. So those were fun, but I don't have them anymore. Maybe if I went, I don't know how long I would need to go now to see them again. But I have a suspicion that as long as I take the ketones and I keep my brain clear, I might not have them anymore. So the ketones is the second thing. And then there is a trick, which is that you can take the ketones with the caffeine. You just need to be super, super careful with that because the ketones multiply the effects of the caffeine. So then you're way more likely to overdose. So that's number 3. And then I have little pictures of my kids. So that's one that the crew can just give me. And then I'm all motivated and happy and smiling. And then I do have a bunch of different quotes that I print out before the race. So like in this one, in the coffee run, I only needed one quote once. I was quite low because we were like 20 hours in and this guy is still 20 kilometers ahead of me. So I was feeling kind of discouraged, but I also knew that it's the second night where it all comes down to the experience that I have because I know I can run through the second night as well. And not many people would do that. But then one of the crew members that I had, Sandra, she gave me a little pep talk. So you need a good crew, right? So that's part of it. And then she also gave me this quote that I had previously printed from Laz that said, you want to do things that you aren't sure you could do. And then I just kept repeating it in my head. I want to do things that I'm not sure I can do. And just over it. And that got me through the whole thing.
Can we circle back just to this hallucinating for 1 second? Because that fascinates me.
Yeah.
Did the first time that happened to you, did it scare you? Were you expecting it? Like, I can't believe that can happen from running. Like, that's so wild to me.
I always say that people pay a lot of money to get to that state, right? And we don't need drugs. We can just run. So that it was that first race. I mean, not first race. It was my third ultra actually in Duncan, BC, and on the island, the 48-hour where I first hallucinated. I did the 24-hour race in September, and then I got invited to the Big Dogs Satellite Championship for Team Canada. That was in October. And then the race in Duncan was in November. So I think I might have hallucinated because I went 34 hours in the backyard. And I kind of remember little ghosts. There was a black one and the white one. They were little ones like this, hanging from the tree like a Halloween decoration kind of thing. They were super cute. So I remember those. So I think that was in the backyard. And then I went to Duncan, and that was the giant broccoli and the giant unicorn.
But did that like scare you at first? Did you feel like something was wrong, or did you expect that?
I knew that this could by that time. So after the 24-hour, I started to read about, ultra running. What is this? And how is it done? And what's the difference between an Ironman triathlon and an ultra run? And so I knew that the hallucinations could happen. So it didn't catch me off guard. And the good thing about my hallucinations was that they never moved. So I know that there are scary ones. There could be like big spiders coming at you and scary stuff. Mine were never. So even the ghosts were cute. Or like there was a race, a 6-day race. Actually, bears were a recurring theme. So bears, they keep coming back. Not anymore, but they used to. And so I saw a lot of bears, but they were always friendly bears, just sitting there keeping me company. And so no, I never had scary ones because mine never move. They just don't. They just sit there and keep me company. So at one point I was calling them my ifs, my imaginary friends. And they would keep me company at night in these ultras when things get boring and long and all that. So we were just joking that the friends are coming out. And so there was this 6-day race that was indoors and in an ice rink. And I had my bears on the side, and I had a few people in the middle of the night that were my ifs. But the problem was at around 5:36 a.m., there was a skating rink in the middle. It was the National Training Center for the ice skaters for the U.S. And so the real skaters started coming out. And I was so confused who is real and who is not. And then that's when I realized, oh, wait a minute. So my friends never move. So if I look at somebody long enough and they don't move, then they are not real. That's kind of how I differentiated between real and not real. And most of the time that worked. There were times when it didn't. There was this one backyard where there was a lady sitting on a bench. And as we went around again and again, she was still sitting there, still in the same position. But it was daytime, and I didn't think my mind was so bad yet that I would hallucinate anything. But she was motionless and just sitting there on the bench by the side of the track that we ran on. So I just really wasn't sure if she was real or not. But then by the third or fourth lap, as we ran by, she just switched her legs. I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay. So she's real. She's moving.
Does it worry you sort of sometimes and not so much with 24-48, but these really big 6-day things? Do you worry about the sleep deprivation and the consequences it could have on your brain?
The long-term consequences, no, because although there is not that much science, they don't put people under a huge 6-day sleep deprivation study, but from what we know and what we do have in terms of sleep deprivation data, if you fully catch up after, there is no lasting effect for 6 days or even 10 days. And I think you can stretch it as far as the Sri Chinmoy 3,100-mile race, 5,000 kilometers. That's the longest foot race, official foot race that we've got. And I think, and that's 52 days is the cutoff. So I think you can even stretch it to a month and a half. And obviously people are not sleeping as much as they should in that race because there is a 6-hour night window when the course is closed. So you're sleeping.
Is that the one in the Bronx in New York?
Yeah. So even that, I think if you catch up after, which might take you a few months, even the 48-hour, it takes me a week. Even now we are 4 days after and I'm kind of half functional. So yesterday I had a meeting for one of the kids at one of the schools and I went to the wrong school. So I was 5 minutes late when I realized, wow, okay, let's go to the other school where I'm supposed to be, really. And no kid is going to that school anymore where I accidentally went. So so my brain is half functional. So it takes me a week. From a 6-day, 3 weeks, and you're sleeping day and night. Yeah, so I can't imagine how long it takes. I think months. But we know that if you do catch up afterwards, then there is no damage to the brain. So at least that's what I keep telling myself. So the 48 I really like because you can just go through the 2 nights, you just caffeinate up, don't sleep, and just it's simple in that, You don't need to worry about how am I going to time my caffeine because I want to sleep here and I should not have any caffeine in my body by then. But then am I going to be way too slow the 4 hours before that because I'm not taking caffeine? So in a backyard, it gets very, very tricky if you want to go through more than 2 nights. So when you get to day 3, night 3, because are you making that time? You have a cutoff every single hour. If you're not fast enough because you're so sleep deprived that you can run the 6.7 kilometers, 4 miles within the hour, then it doesn't matter. You're saving up for the sleep and not taking the caffeine, but you might not get there because you can't make it in. So then you have to take the caffeine, but then you won't be able to sleep. So then the sleep deprivation will just get worse and worse and worse. So that's a different kind of puzzle, but the 48 is very straightforward. The sleep deprivation is awful in the 6th day. I'm not even sure I will ever do that again.
That's fair.
So hard.
Yeah, I was wondering, so clearly the last 5 years, 45 to 50 have been big ultra running years for you. You set a whole bunch of world records that are now Canadian records. There's definitely you can see that you were chasing those things.
Yes.
Now, I feel like there might be like a shift happening for you. Maybe it's you getting that dog. But like, what are you chasing now? Like, what is exciting for you at this juncture after like 5 years of chasing records?
So, yes, I was chasing the record hard until, I would say, until 2024. That was kind of, 25 was the shift. Partly because, and this is kind of personal, what I was running away is not there anymore. I don't need to run away from it anymore. My life is gonna be solved and gonna be good. So I think that's a big part of it. There's nothing to run away from anymore. I did so many of like the 6 days, the 48 hours, not so much the 24, mostly the 48 and the 6 day. And backyard I'm still excited about. But I think there is kind of a burnout there in terms of definitely the 6 day. I can see myself doing 48 hours again. I don't think I will ever break the record that I set in 2024, which was probably my biggest year. I set the 6 day Canadian record in 23 September, and then I set the 48 hour, the current ones in May 24. And I think I can't see myself doing a 6 day anytime soon. It's just so hard. The 48, I would have to have a very good reason to do it, like $5,000 on the line to go for it. But I do see myself potentially doing 48 for one reason or another. Maybe just to set a 50 plus record or something. I will definitely do 24 because I did manage to set the 50 plus Canadian record in Albi, but I was competing sick. I didn't even get to 200. I did 195, which is like, it's not something to be proud of, but I was sick. So I was
That's
competing
crazy.
sick.
It's so something to be proud of. Like, I'm just looking at Brooke's face. Like, most people can't even like imagine the numbers you're talking about. They're unimaginable. Like, people are trying to run 5Ks and half marathons, and you're talking about like, 195, nothing to be proud about. It's like insanity.
Well, I know I can do better. So I do have it in the back of my mind that I might either go down to Desert Solstice in December and do a 24-hour. And even if I went into the backyard 3 weeks ago or almost 4 weeks ago, very undertrained. And I put up a 47-hour backyard, which I was super proud of, given how undertrained I was. Like, I was messing around all winter. As you said, I was running with the dog. I was just, whenever I was snowshoeing, I did win the snowshoeing age group world championship, 10K, 10 kilometers. But yeah, I did orienteering, I did Rogaine, all this other stuff that I was just having fun and not really doing any kind of training that would have prepared me for a backyard or a 48-hour. But I do think that, as I said, if you just put your head down, you can run 200K. And I think it's a shame that the Canadian 50 plus women's 24-hour record is under 200. So I'm on a mission to hit that 200, even if I don't hit much higher than that. But yeah, so I'm thinking of going down to Desert Solstice in December or do the Raven. I like it because I can drive there, and that's another elite race, elite 24-hour on the track here. So I like that one. I might do that instead. It's just logistically much easier to go down to South Carolina. But the Desert Solstice, gets all the hype. So that's the draw of that one. We'll see. But yeah, I burned out of those loops, and but I have new obsessions.
What's your new obsession? Tell us.
So I do have the backyard. And I think I can do, if I focus on the backyard, I can do much, much better than what I have done, because it's always been a second thought up to this point. So that's one. And, my best is 49. The Canadian women's record is 60. And
So you want to break Amanda's record?
I would like to bring that down. Well, it also depends on, if she has the desire to keep doing it, but it's a very hard format, and even previously she had already said a few times what I'm saying about the 6 day, right? That it's just not that appealing anymore. So I'm sure she could do better if she really put her mind to it. It's just a question of committing to it. And I'm not sure that that's the kind of race she wants to commit her full potential to. So, if she doesn't and I do, then who knows? I do think I can go through a third night, which would take me to 72.
It sounds like beating records is still really exciting to you. Like it is like a motivating thing. Like it's like a little
That
carrot
one.
angled.
That
Yeah.
record, yes, that record. But also I started to like these mountainous trail things. So because part of it is that the dog likes to run on the trails, and then I can just go out and run with her, and that's training. So that's one. There is one big project, but everything has to come together. So if I do give it a shot, that's a huge one. And it's, I would, if I do go for it, I would like a documentary about it. And I don't have any sponsors behind me at this point. So it's like, either I get my friends around who are willing to do it for free, or I don't know, get some sponsors behind me to actually do it. And it's the Bruce Trail.
Where is that?
That's the oldest and longest footpath in Canada, like
Okay.
the oldest and longest trail, 890 kilometers. And the overall record is very strong. So I think it's 8 days and 16 hours. And then the women's record is 8 days and 22 or 23 hours. So, I mean, if you're going for the women's, you might as well try for the overall. It's not that different. But they are both very strong. They're both very strong. I have no idea if I could ever do it. I would have to train a heck of a lot on the Bruce Trail, which is a few hours drive from me, certain parts of it. So it would need like a dedicated, huge training block. But I don't really want to commit to it until I see the project coming together. And also like a heck of a lot of support. Like I would obviously want to do it fully supported. So it's a lot of people getting them out for a lot of days.
Yeah. I want to circle back to one thing you said before about like running away, because I do think there's I think kind of a misconception that people run these long distances to run away. But then for some people, maybe that is true. Maybe there is a part of like avoidance or, right, these long training days. Sometimes I use running as avoidance to not do my to-do list,
Yeah.
So where is it about motivation because these like things really excite you? And how much do you think was it the running away, not wanting to deal with real life?
I see the running away part in a lot of high performing middle-aged women, to be honest. So like what I see the pattern, and I've seen it with a lot of my friends or people who I follow, is you get these really, really strong, really excellent world-class results. And then eventually you see the divorce. And people think, oh, so she was running too much and that's why they got divorced. No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened in any of them. And that's not what's happening with me. They are putting up those results because they need an outlet. They need to just have some time for themselves to think and to process and to get through the emotions and to get through the situation and to get to kind of evaluate what's happening and to come to a conclusion. And it's interesting also that many times when the breakup or divorce happens, the results kind of drop because the motivation to run, to do this stuff is still there, but the desire to just get away, like just not deal with it, isn't there anymore. And so you get a much more balanced life, and then you're not dedicating as many hours potentially to that singular focus that kept you sane for so long. So yeah, when I see these and then sometimes, I see the comments, of course your marriage blew up because you were running too much, or you were triathloning too much, or you were whatevering too much. No, it's the other way around. It was the other way around all along. And eventually I really like the place where, well, we are not really done with the processes yet, but I really, really like the place where I'm getting to, where I do whatever I want. I do as much running as I want, but my friends are coming back into my life much more because I have more time for them. Other things like cooking is coming back into my life because I can dedicate some time to cooking because I don't need to carry everything on my shoulders. My life was so out of balance with, having to carry everything. Now it's like, I can do this, I can do that because I only need to carry half of it, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure. And then there is the exact opposite. There is where I see, like, when we were down at Badwater, I couldn't not notice how every single other person, there was this women of Badwater, right? There were 5, I think, or 4 or 5 Mountain to Coast women there. And I couldn't not notice how everybody else had their partner on the team, So again, some women are high performing because they do have the support, because there is a partner who will pull in the same direction. And I think that's fantastic. And, if you see, like Mag, Josh is always crewing her. My Hungarian friend, in the same age group where I am, the partner is always there. The partner is always supporting. You can't do it otherwise. So it's either of those two things. And then when you just never see the partner, then you know which one you're dealing with. And then when the partner is always there supporting, with or without kids, and it goes both ways. Like, it's not just the women. Like, I have a bunch of friends who are guys doing it, and then the woman is, maybe she's not crewing, but she's there and the kids are there to see it, that, there is a big achievement made. And not the kids are at home and they are being told how awful mommy is to go and run, and how selfish that is from her, that she's going to go and run a world championship or break a world record. Like, there is no negativity around the whole sport fed to the kids, but they are there, to see it and to experience it as a big deal, as an achievement, as a positive thing, not, as a huge negative, and you're being painted in the light of how awful you are because you do these things. It's a different story.
For sure. I wonder what it would feel like to go back to your 2015 self and try to imagine yourself now. Like, it seems like a wild journey over the last 10 years. Like, could you have ever imagined when you were running like a 1 hour 18 10K that you'd be a world record holder, world champion? No, it's insane.
No, absolutely not. I just went with the flow, right? Yeah. When I start doing something and it turns out I'm kind of good at it, I just go with the flow and I get invested in it, and then it runs its course. Like, it was the same with poker. I was pretty good at it. And it ran its course. Mind you, that I stopped doing that because the kids came about and I didn't think the lifestyle would fit with the kids. But that was also something where I got better and better and better. And then, I had bigger and bigger ambitions, and it just snowballs.
But what's crazy, I think, and I just think it's so relatable, just being like, like women in their 40s start worrying about perimenopause, menopause. They feel like they have to start to slow down. And not only didn't you slow down, you sped up like I don't even know how to describe it, because it's a really crazy acceleration that you had. So I'm just curious, I know we always mention Brooke at the end because she wants to run a half marathon for her 40th
Wow, cool.
year. And the longest she's run so far is like a 5K. And so how do you go from that 5K to the half marathon? How do you start humbly? Because that's how you started. You
That's how I
started in a
started,
very
yeah.
progressive, humble way.
So I just committed to the 4 days a week, because the training plan said that I need 4 days a week. And 3 of those were no more than 30, 45 minutes, but they did have workouts. So if I was Brooke, I would pick a 10K halfway through that plan. So first I would pick a race. So we are in April, I would pick a race in September. That's a half marathon. This is what I'm training for. I would also pick a 10K in sometime in the summer. And what I would do is I would run 4 days a week. So pretty much every second day. And one of those runs would get longer and longer. So you can start with the 5K and then 6, 7, 8, 9. And I was the kind of person, even back then, who did have to run the full distance before showing up at the race. It's not necessary. It's absolutely not required. But for my confidence, I just was the type of person who just needed that. So I knew I could do it on race day. And then I would probably also find a free training plan online, how to get from even couch to half marathon or something.
I mean, I could write her a training plan. That's not the issue.
Good.
I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
coach
more
as
about
well. So I can write her a
finding-
or I do have my training plan from 2015 that I could send her. But yeah, I would just, and I did have I think it was 1 intervals and 1 tempo run a week. And then there was probably 1 easy and 1 that was getting longer and longer. And that was it.
Yeah, simple.
It's very simple. And the half marathon is so manageable. So yeah, totally. Do it. Go for it. Pick the race. That's the first
my
step.
5K was like 47 minutes for my first 5K. So I'm like,
That's perfectly
I've got a long way to go.
Perfectly fine. Yeah, perfectly fine. My training, it was funny because when I did that first half marathon, so it was, the app was called Me Coach that I used back then. It doesn't exist anymore. But then, so I ran the 10K 118 and it did say to do the half marathon. And I think the slowest half marathon it would give me was a 2:30. And it said that to run the 2:30 half marathon, I really need to get a 1:10 or faster 10K. And mine was 1:18. So I lied to the app and I said I ran the 1:10. Give me the training plan for the 2:30. But it was actually pretty good because I ran 2:27 on that half marathon. So the training plan worked. And then it was the same with the 5-hour marathon, that I used the same Me Coach app for the 5-hour marathon, and I ran the 4:57. So it was a pretty good app. I'm a bit sad that they killed it.
I think it's a good place to stop. We've covered so many things. We obviously wish you the best of luck with all the races coming up, and we look forward to seeing what records you break next. It sounds like the 50 plus 24-hour one is next.
Yeah, I hope that happens within the next year, within the next 12 months. Because now I'm at the best age for that, right? At the beginning of that age group. It only gets worse from here until I hit the next age group.
Well, I think it's so cool. I think the trajectory is incredible. And I think that none of us know what we're truly capable of until we start. So I hope we can leave people with that to just start. You don't know. You might turn into a world record holder. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you get value out of it, please share it with a friend. It helps us so much. Comment, leave us a review, subscribe. You know all the things to do. We really appreciate you.